British Spy Stories, Season 2, The Kill Order. Episode 16. The address that Marjorie had given Ella was not one that she recognised. But as she's a researcher, she had automatically explored the location to see if it's an MI5 property, but it's not. The only reference to 12 Montelot Gardens in the whole database was that it had been classified as secret during the Cold War, but then declassified in 1995. She catches the train from Vauxhall to Putney Station and walks to the house. As she turns the corner, there are no people on the pavements and no cars on the road. There's no one looking out of the windows, checking what's going on. Ella reaches number 12 and stops. The place is a semi-detached 1930s house, white paintwork and a neat, if overly planted, front garden. She knocks at the front door, which she can see leads to a vestibule that has been added after the house was built, to keep warmth inside. After a few seconds, the inner door opens and Marjorie appears. She smiles broadly, opens the door, kisses Ella on the cheek, and invites her inside. The interior is as ordinary as the exterior. There is no surprise for a visitor here. No garish decoration. All original features have been retained. Marjorie offers her tea, which she accepts. Then she directs her to sit in the lounge that overlooks a neat back garden that seems to go on past the trees at the far end. Ella sits on one of two identical grey sofas. Marjorie comes in from the kitchen and puts down a gold tray with teacups, a teapot, milk jug and a sugar bowl with tongs. "I have the data," says Ella. Marjorie makes a polite smile. Ella fishes a USB stick out of her bag and puts it on the table between them. "How did it go?" says Marjorie. "On there is a list of the Moldovan agents who are operating in Russia and in the EU. Ella looks fleetingly at the USB stick. "Thank you." Marjorie picks up the stick and pushes it down into one of the pockets on her tweed jacket. "Did Stefan suspect anything?" "He was asleep. But it proves what you said, that he is Moldovan intelligence. Does that upset you?" says Marjorie. "I liked him." She pauses, then adds, "Thank you for not flagging my failure to submit the 3P. Ella, there is something else I'd like you to do." Ella shakes her head. "That's it now. I've paid my debt." "It's only small." "No." Ella's raised voice crashes the polite English afternoon. "I said that's it. You said one thing. I'm not doing any more." "Do it as a favour to me, then." "Weren't you listening?" Ella can feel her anger rise. "I've been thinking anyway. I'm going to talk to Sir Bernard." "They'll crucify you," says Marjorie. "You'll be out as quick as you can say glass ceiling." "I'll risk it." "I wouldn't advise this path." "I'm going to go and see him," says Ella. "Tell him everything. Tell him I meant to report my relationship, but I was embarrassed because I'd reported 2 other men I'd slept with in the last year and they didn't work out." "Ella, there's nothing you can say." Ella stands and picks up her bag from the sofa. "I've done what you said. Don't make me do any more." She beats a hasty retreat back to the front door, then hurries off down the street to the station. Gabby arrives back in her flat after a few days of it being empty. She turns on the heating, has a shower, makes coffee, and sits by the window. The events in Belgrade all worked out. She could have done without the guy at the bar, but that had given her a chance to show Barbu that she has guts. No harm done. She picks up her laptop from the table and clicks through into Oberon to look at any updates or messages. There are 3 from Sir Bernard's assistant, Lawrence, asking to diary a discussion with his boss. She replies that she's around this afternoon if it's urgent, then goes through the other messages. Within 10 minutes, Lawrence responds and asks if she can make a video call in half an hour. She accepts and goes downstairs to the flat's comms room, just before the agreed time. The main screen in front of her goes from black to display the words, "Accept secure video call." She puts in her daily password. There's a pause, then Sir Bernard's face appears. His brow shows signs of tension, she thinks, and his eyes look more tired than when they spoke last time. "Hello, sir."
"Black Hawk, good to see you," he begins. "I wanted to let you know that I have personally taken on Operation Windfall. You'll report to me on it."
"Sir," she says.
"Mr. Murphy is going to put his mind to other operations. I wanted to talk to you about Professor Morrison, too. You helped us get him off the train. Did you hear that he's absconded from the safe house?"
"I saw it on my Oberon feed, sir. Yes."
"He just walked out."
She wonders if she should ask any more about an operation that's not hers, as she had only provided the snatch op for them. But the man obviously wants to discuss it. "Do we know what happened, sir?" she says.
"He argued with his babysitter. Next day, he just disappeared."
"Who's the babysitter?"
"Carling. Do you know him?"
"No, sir," she says. "What have we done to recover?"
"Carling has searched Copenhagen," says Sir Bernard. "He's tracked contacts and traced airline passenger lists."
"Any bank cards spent?" says Gabby.
"Cash, €500, 20 minutes after he was last seen."
"He's gone by train, sir. I bet on it," she says. "That's what I'd do if I was running. Buy your tickets with cash, no passports needed, no checks. He could be anywhere in Europe by now."
"Can you help find him?"
says Sir Bernard. "I need to concentrate on Windfall, sir."
"Are there other resources that you can deploy?"
"I only have Laravel under my direct command, sir."
"Can you spare her for a day or two?"
Gabby takes a breath. Let me see, sir."
"Thank you, Gabrielle."
They talk for a couple more minutes about the general state of MI6 ops in Europe. Then he rings off. She's heard more about Agent Carling than she told Sir Bernard. What was it that London Control had said about Carling? Too self-obsessed, they told her. Her mind moves on to think about Barbu. Then she calls Hans and Laravel and tells them to meet at the Met Bar this evening. She needs to act quickly before Barbu starts making too many inquiries about Erika Muller and discovers that only one man in the world has ever heard of her. The Met Bar is full of people when Gabby arrives. Hans and Gisela, a young woman who helps behind the bar, are both at full stretch, serving beer, wine and whiskey. She sits at a table in the corner, and Hans drops a bottle of beer off in front of her as he passes. He makes a sign to say he'll be 5 minutes yet. He goes to talk to Gisela, then eventually walks over to Gabby and sits down in the chair opposite.
"I know this is only a cover job, but fuck, it's hard work," he says.
They smile at each other.
"I need you to get me out in the field, Gab."
"Then consider me to be your fairy godmother, Gordon," she says. "That's exactly what I'm going to do, but tell me what you found online first." He goes through the data, videos and records that he has found in his cyber search. Hans confirms that Irina Voroboyov is still living in Minsk. And he plays some CCTV from the previous day of Irina out shopping. Hans has found an address for a rented apartment in the side street and a registration for her son Jacob to start at a local playgroup in a few weeks' time. The late drinkers and Gisela have all gone home by the time the bell at the top of the doorframe rings, and Laravel walks in. Gabby and Hans continue to talk as she approaches them. Hans is taking a swig from his beer bottle as Laravel reaches the table. He looks up and instantly chokes on his drink. Laravel is completely still, and a silence sits between the three of them. "So, something I should know?" says Gabby. Begins Laravel.
"We,"
says Hans. "What?"
"We've met."
"On an op?" "No," says Laravel. Gabby looks between the two of them for more insights. "We met the other night." She winces, not wanting to say it out loud. "In a bar."
"You'd gone in the morning."
says Hans. You mean you two? Yeah, we did. Is this going to be a problem? Not for me.
Same, says
Hans. But Gabby is less certain of his honesty than hers. Hans gets more drinks and they talk about work to distract them from the discomfort of the chance re-encounter. She tells Hans that she needs him to come with her to Minsk. What about me? Says Laravel. You been to Copenhagen? Not for a few years? Gabby explains the situation regarding Professor Morrison and how he's gone missing on account of the MI6 man on the ground being next to useless. And while you're there, you can put a rocket up Carling's ass, says Gabby. Tell me what he says when you've had the chance to wheedle out of him what the fuck has been going on since he lost a Category A asset from right under his bloody nose. They finish their planning and Gabby gets away first to leave the others to talk. But Laravel stands up to go immediately and puts on her coat.
I enjoyed the other night,
says Hans. She smiles. Yeah, so did I.
If you want to meet up for dinner, sometime, maybe.
She stops and looks at his eyes. There's no space in my life for anything, Gordon. I'm sorry. Laravel turns, pulls the door to the street, and disappears into the Berlin darkness.